Hi, I'm Sally from Who's the Mummy, and if you've ever wanted a robot to do your vacuuming for you, then stay tuned. Today I'm going to be looking at the Irobot 980 robot vacuum cleaner. Now, I've been sent this to review, but I'm a pretty demanding customer when it comes to a labour saving device. So I wanted to know, is it any good? Does it work? Also, is it hard to use? Okay, so when you open the box, the first thing you're going to see is the Roomba itself. There's also a small box at the top which has the battery, filter and base station in there. So as well as this, you get these two blocks which are kind of perimeter markers. So these perimeter markers allow you to define a space where your Roomba won't go past. Okay, so we've plugged in the base station, which is here, and put the iRobot against it. In theory, you should be able to have like 3 feet of clear space on each side of the device. And then I'm hoping this is going to turn it on. Ta-da! So in terms of moving parts on here, you've got an on and off button here. There's a home button. And this is a target button. If you want the Roomba to focus on one particular spot, you can press that button. You'll also see at the front of the machine, there's a little button there. Maybe not. Oh yeah, here we go. This is the bin. So in here is where the dirt goes. It's a little bit dusty because we've just had it run around the dining room. And this is the filter, so that when you're emptying it, you would take out the filter here. And there is a spare filter in the box when you're done. And then you just put that back in. So once that's empty and you've given it a bit of a wipe round, it just slots back into place there. So if we wanted to set the Roomba going, you would just press the clean button. But here's where this particular Irobot Roomba gets a little bit smarter, is we're going to connect it to Wi-Fi. Okay, so I have a slight confession to make. Connecting it to Wi-Fi was not as easy as the manual made it seem, and there's been quite a bit of swearing and trying to work out. Okay, so here's what you need to do. The Roomba will only connect to a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi network. Mine is BT Fiber and runs on 5 gigahertz. Although my router was a dual router, the vacuum couldn't see the 2.4 frequency. So in the end, what I did was I temporarily turned off the 5 gigahertz on my router settings, and I then restarted the router and it connected no problem. So if you've got similar issues and you want me to explain that in a bit more detail, just let me know in the comments and I will. But essentially, to connect, what you're going to need is your mobile device. You press two buttons, the two side buttons on the Irobot. It will make a beep. It will prompt your phone to connect to the Roomba, and then you just follow the prompts. So once you've actually got it to recognise it, it's fairly straightforward. So here's what you're going to have on your phone or your device. You end up with the Irobot app, which looks a bit like this. You can give your robot a name. We've called ours Frank. Feels friendly, dependable. You can depend on a Frank. And on the app, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons along the bottom. So this one lets you set preferences. So one of the key features of the vacuum is that it will go like a stronger suction when it's on the carpet. If you've got grubby 12-year-olds in the house, that might be an issue. You can also set it to just go over once or to go over twice for a more thorough clean. Then the second button is like stats, like how nerdy have you got to be to want to go and see performance stats of your vacuum, but it can tell you how long it spent cleaning and the surface. So apparently the downstairs of our house is 65.03 metres squared. Who knew? And there were 4 dirt events. What's a dirt event? I'd love to know. I need more details on this. What's a dirt event? But there were 4 of them while it was cleaning our house. The third button, you can set a schedule. So you could set your vacuum to run, say, 3 times a week while you're at work, and you would come home to perfect cleaning. How amazing is that? Then the last one is there's like help and there's instructions on how to care for the vacuum cleaner. I love this as well if you've lost your vacuum, if your house is, I suspect, quite a bit bigger than ours, 65 metres square, you may have lost your Frank. And I can locate Frank. I'm not sure what happens if I press that button. Let's see. Oh, I get the message. Frank is charging on the home base. So I wonder if, but I think if Frank was elsewhere in the house, I could make Frank sing. Dizzy with power. Okay, what we're going to do now is test the spot function. So this is, I think if you've kind of dropped something, if you can see, I dropped some breadcrumbs. Oopsie. So I put the Roomba in the middle and press this spot button. Let's see. In terms of a weakness, the round shape can be a little bit of a problem. So we have a rectangular kitchen, and what I have noticed is because the round shape doesn't get into corners, sometimes it can miss crumbs along the bottom that are next to the kickboards of the kitchen units. But it does have a little sweeping brush that is intended, I think, to brush those things into the path of the cleaner. So I think that works quite well. So you may be wondering if what happens if you've got kids in the house, or maybe if there's a pet. So I'm going to bring in our intrepid volunteer. Teddy, come here. He's a big girl. So actually the Irobot has a sensor on the front, and when it senses that there's something in front of it, it doesn't try and keep going. It will just sort of give up and go in a slightly different direction. So I can feel it just barely touching my foot, but that's all. And I don't think Teddy's too worried about it. Are you, Ted? Teddy! Teddy! Okay, so thank you for watching our review of the Irobot. Teddy and I, what do you think, Ted?
Don't you mean Teddy's review?
Teddy's review, yes. Teddy and I give it a big thumbs up, don't we, Ted? Yes, we do. I'm really pleased with it. I think it's performed really well. I think that the little brush is quite effective at getting along edges, but it can miss the odd corner. So it's just something to bear in mind. At £980, is it cheap? God no. But for that hour that you may spend 2 or 3 times a week vacuuming, if there are other things that you can do, if you're spending time with your kids, if you're even just having some downtime or being able to spend more time at work and be more effective, then I think it could be a really good investment. And I love the addition of the app. I think that's a fantastic thing that you're able to do with this. So thanks to Roomba for sending us the Irobot. If you've got any questions, if you're like me and you get completely stuck on the Wi-Fi setup, let me know down below. But otherwise, thanks for watching. Bye!